Let's do the damn thing.
It's that time, so let's take it to the Birdland. That Baltimore home flavor is coming firsthand. Fred, Scott, and Ryan, tell them the word, man. Mixing a little BS to make it work, man. Boys, they got it. On excitement, the topic. Make sure when they toss you the ball, you don't drop it. With all that swag, you're gonna listen regardless. Here comes the pitch, so it's time to get it started. It's Birdland BS.
BS. I'm really bad at that.
It was real creepy. What's up, BSers?
Had to step in for Scott. He's hiding in his election day bunker.
That's right.
Scared of what's going down.
Happy election day to everybody out there. Hopefully we can give you a little bit of a break for the next 2 hours because it's been nothing but election day coverage all day. Hopefully you guys went out there, did your civic duty to vote, put your opinion out there.
Welcome all you new viewers that found nothing else to watch out there.
Appreciate you tuning in.
Yes, we do this every Tuesday night.
Right. It's been a stressful, to say the least, 48 hours since the Ravens lost to the Steelers. As you can see, a shitstorm. It has been a shitstorm of news for the Ravens. So we got a lot to talk about with that. But it's time to dust ourselves off. We got a big game coming up. We got to bounce back quick. Phillip Rivers, the Colts. It still sounds weird saying Phillip Rivers and the Colts. But at 5-2, they're a good football team.
They're a very good football team. And can you just remember just how good you felt on Friday night, thinking how good this show would have been with 2 wins?
Right. Talia, tell Scott to go stick it where the sun don't shine, right? Attaboy, Scott. Terps win a big game in Minnesota, so we're going to talk a lot about that as they get prepared for Penn State this week. And Baltimore's own Tank Davis defends his title with another KO, another knockout in this week's rundown. We got a whole hodgepodge of topics, some sports-related, some not, to talk about in this week's rundown. Before we do too much, though, we do want to remind you, if you've ever been injured at work or in an auto accident, weren't sure who to call, 855-MD-CRASH, the Maryland personal injury attorneys that will have your back. If you find yourself in that unfortunate situation, and I know I have, give our team at MD Crash a call right away. We all know the cost of medical bills, lost wages, and pain and suffering can all add up quickly and potentially put you in a bad financial place. If you want a team that will handle your case, big or small, and just give you some peace of mind, I don't know what you're doing. Save this number now, 855-MD-CRASH. It's 855-632-7274. Be sure to follow them on Facebook for some fun giveaways, including gift cards to some local restaurants.
That's all for our new viewers, because we knew all you out there have already saved that phone number.
That's right. I hope so anyway. I hope so. All right, man. So it's time for some Flock talk, some Ravens talk. Hey, like I said, last 48 hours, last 2 days, it has not been good news for the Ravens. Obviously, it started with the loss to the Steelers. a tight game. A great game in a lot of aspects as far as the way we played. We're going to talk a lot about that. But before we do, man, like I said, in that game, you lose your all-pro left tackle, Ronnie Stanley, for the year. You lose your rookie right guard in Tyree Phillips, who is now on the IR list. He'll at least miss 3 weeks, right? Ronnie Stanley coming off just signing that big $100 million deal. First game after the case.
We were fist pumping about it, not like 24 hours earlier.
Yeah, crazy. You lose Marlon Humphrey now for this upcoming week as he tests positive for the coronavirus.
Fruit punch was spiked.
Yeah. So he's going to miss at least 10 days as long as he tests positive from here on out. But then there's some other ramifications come with that. There's the 7 close contact players. They're going to have to sit out a minimum of 5 days, as long as they passed all their tests over the next few days. And these 7 players are key players, starters on that defensive side of the football.
Yeah, as of right now, obviously we're not talking about cancellations, but this is the start. This is how it happens. If it continues to spread inside the locker room, we'll start discussing cancellations and moving of this game. Right, right now, those 7 are definitely under close watch. That's a bad thing if they go positive, but they're not in the facility with other players, so that would be the better case than somebody not on that list popping up positive would be the worst case scenario.
Right. And then today, trade deadline. It came, it went, nothing happened. So an uneventful trade deadline for the Ravens. So I say it's just been, I know me, at least me, I was refreshing social media all day long today, hoping that we'd hear something, especially with the injuries to the offensive line. Maybe we get some offensive line depth or, reinforcement there. We've talked about the needs at, a third tight end or a wide receiver or defensive back depth. There's a lot of needs now on this team that have kind of exposed themselves in the past couple of days.
After Sunday, I'm not surprised that we had an uneventful trade deadline. I was expecting big moves, but we were close, and I think that Eric DeCosta thought that we were a couple players away from being a top 4, top 6 team. When you lose all the players that we do, I don't know if whatever you did at that trade line was just going to get you back to the team we were Friday, much less better than the team we were Friday. You lost up all pro left tackle. No matter who you go out to try to trade for, leveraging all the future, you're not replacing him.
Yeah, but they're super thin at tackle depth. So even if you're right. To your point, you're not replacing an all pro left tackle. I get that. I'm not saying you would have made a move that would have bettered the team than they were, with Ronnie Stanley. I'm not saying that, but it doesn't mean you don't do anything, right? They have a need at tackle. And I was saying that there's a bunch of names that were even on the trade market at tackle, not saying that the Ravens even had enough financial cap to be able to make that move happen. Yeah. It's just, it's the hope that we all kind of had.
Yeah, we were all thinking that this year was the year we're hanging our hat on, and we could still make a run. We've always made a run from the wild card, and it looks like that's where we're headed. So.
Right. All right, well, we got to dive in. Let's start with this Steelers game, right? It was a great game. Close game, typical Steelers matchup. It came down to 4 points in this game. It came down to the final play. Ravens lose 28-24, fall to 5-2. Pittsburgh now takes a 2-game lead in the AFC North. And I got to say, I have been Lamar's biggest fan, Lamar's biggest supporter. You all know that if you've been watching the show. Since the Ravens drafted him, I've been his biggest supporter. But I'm not afraid to call him out when he plays bad. And he played bad in this game. 4 turnovers, 2 interceptions, a fumble, all of which turned into a swing of 17 points. That doesn't happen. He doesn't turn over the football. We win this game handedly.
Yeah, this was a very winnable game even with that happening.
Right.
We talk about not winning the big game, whatever. But if you compare this to the Chiefs game, all the wide receivers looked overwhelmed. The tight end looked overwhelmed. The quarterback looked overwhelmed. On Sunday, only Lamar. Lamar looked very similar to that game, but everybody else looked like they were putting up. They were engaged.
Yeah.
So it was very interesting to see only him in that scenario.
Yeah. And I know everybody out there, the narrative around Lamar on a national standpoint is that he can't win in big games, right? He's struggled with the Steelers. He struggled with the Chiefs. Now, granted, he has won some big games in his career. He won some big regular season games last year against the 49ers and the Seattle Seahawks. And he won a few big games, but obviously this was one that he could have separated himself. And his team, everybody around him, did everything that they could. I mean, the running game in this game, you got Mark Ingram sitting on the sideline dealing with his injury, right? Yep. So you got the rookie and J.K. Dobbins stepping up into a starting role, which we've been clamoring for a while now. I know Drew's a big fan of J.K. Dobbins. We got to see a combination of Dobbins and Edwards and what that's going to look like moving forward. Well, you're going up against the best run defense in the National Football League, and they end up putting up 265 yards on the ground. That's
a lot of running. And I think we should have done a little bit more running. I don't know why we were putting the ball in the air so much. It was working.
Right.
It was not like, even with them stacking the box against the run, it was not slowing them down at all. They were getting over 5 yards a carry. So I don't know how we even got to the fact that we're throwing all these interceptions, how we put Lamar in that situation, but he had one too many picks.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a problem. Listen, the fumble.
You know me with Lamar, the fumbles, because that was my biggest worry.
Yeah, but the fumble wasn't on Lamar. That was Bud Dupree making a play.
How about the one where he fumbled to himself and picked it up?
That's
that
true.
Looked like year one Lamar that stressed me out.
It did look like year one Lamar, but let's state the facts. It was raining its ass off. It was a wet football, so that can happen. He did recover that one.
Only that one because of his history.
Right, all. I know, but you haven't seen that rear its ugly head in a while.
Because that was my big. Everyone was like, "Can he throw? Can he throw?" No. Can he hold on to the ball? That was my big worry. Like,
right.
We can work with you throwing or not throwing, but you can't lay the ball on the turf,
right.
Which is what he did year one.
Yeah. You in this game, I understand there were other factors in this game, right? That there was penalties. This team has been sloppy with penalties lately. That's a part of it. But I think, in my opinion, single-handedly, it was Lamar. Lamar was the difference maker in this game, and is why we lost this game, in my opinion. I know a lot of people out there want to say that it's the game plan and it's the play calling and all that stuff. We ran for 265 yards against the best run defense in the league. Like, we did what we have been clamoring to do, run the football. That's what we're built to do. And we did that well. Lamar protects the football, becomes, I don't want to call him a game manager because he's not a game manager. You got to let Lamar be Lamar. You got to let Lamar do what makes him special, right? So you can't limit him, but you can't turn the football over. It's a problem.
Yeah, I mean, you're limiting him by calling some of these plays, though. Putting him on the run, throwing the ball, having him even in the 3-step drops. These 5-step drops and just sitting in the pocket like he's Aaron Rodgers is not helping Lamar do what Lamar does.
Right.
He's not. It's not these circus tricks that we saw a couple weeks ago where he just runs right to the goal line and shovel passes it. Right. That's what makes Lamar special. Not everybody can do those things.
Right.
But straight dropbacks, he just didn't see linebackers. I mean, they were bad interceptions. People, they were right there.
So speaking of linebackers, I don't know if anybody else noticed this, and I haven't noticed this by any other team. This was the first game where I saw TJ Watt and Bud Dupree. They looked like they were on assignment for Lamar in this game, meaning that they weren't reading the play action. They weren't hesitating to see if he was handing the ball off or not. They were getting off the line and going after Lamar because they hit Lamar a ton in this game. Not a ton of sacks, but they hit him a ton. And I don't know if that played a part in his psyche, that he felt like he needed to rush the ball a little bit and it forced him into bad throws. Now, granted, the first interception was in the first drive of the game, the first series of the game, and then the second interception was the first drive of the second half.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, something I hadn't seen from another team. You got two dominant outside linebackers in TJ Watt and Bud Dupree, and they gave Lamar fits all day.
Yeah, a lot of things gave Lamar fits that day, though. You talk about not doing anything at the trade deadline. We haven't talked about this, but they did sign Des Bryant to the practice squad.
Yeah.
And that first drive I should say the second drive, the first drive that worked.
Yeah. First drive we moved the ball.
Yes, first drive we moved the ball. I thought that $13,000 was very well spent because it seemed to motivate one Miles Boykin.
It did. He got him involved early, got him feeling good about himself, got him the touchdown early. I kind of had that same thought.
He had the touchdown, and then he had an amazing blocking assignment. It was him and Andrew steamrolling down the right side of the line.
Right.
And I was like, oh, shit, that was greatest signing the Ravens have ever done. He might stay on the practice squad, still the greatest signing.
Right. I mean, sometimes players need that motivation. Some players need that kick in the ass, and there definitely seemed to be more confidence in Miles Boykin and Boykin catching the football.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that Lamar had such a bad day, because the way that Boykin was looking, I was hoping to see more of that and to actually show that Dez can stay down there, or Dez can come be a fourth piece and not take his job. But we'll just see how this plays out, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. I would have liked to have seen Dez Bryant on that last play, a physical, big body receiver down in the end zone that he could have thrown the ball up to. Not saying that
he had a wide open wide receiver on the left line.
Name Miles Boykin. He did. Now, granted,
there's nobody near him.
If you slow that play down, the safety is watching Lamar's eyes, right? If Lamar looks over to Miles Boykin, he has enough time to get over there and potentially make a play on it. So it's not as bad as some of the replays made it look. He's not as wide open as you might have thought on that play. But nonetheless, it did look bad when you watched the replay. It looked like he was standing by himself. Go ahead, James.
Loved about this game was it was good. As much as I love Ingram,
yeah,
but it was good to know that he's not going to be in the picture, and you knew it was going to be Dobbin and Gus, and that's what I like. I feel like we got too many ponies in the back, and it's just like when you have too many cars, you don't know which one you're going to drive. I think it's great just to have the two backs and go forward. Like, just because you love a guy doesn't mean he should get the carries. Whoever's dominating the game, who's better fit for the whatever you're going to run should be in. Don't put Ingram in because you think he's my guy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not ready to throw the towel on Mark Ingram by any means, but I do think that maybe the pecking order changes a little bit. I think Ingram might become the guy that comes in late with fresh legs or goal line situations, tough yardage situations, because he's still a good back at that. I don't expect Mark Ingram to be putting up 1,000 or 1,100 yards like he has in the past or like he did last year. I do think that, I've talked about this many a times, right? I don't think you should pay running backs big money, right? So you got to use J.K. Dobbins for these 3 or 4 years that you're going to have him on this rookie contract and get as much out of him as you possibly can. And I think right now, he's, outside of Lamar, he's the biggest playmaker in this offense.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely can do it on his own, because other people need help. Andrews needs help. Marquise needs help. So outside Lamar, he's definitely the one you can depend on.
15 carries, 113 yards, his first career 100-yard rushing game, averaged 7.5 yards per carry in this game. What I like about him is the similarities I see to him and Ray Rice. I know everybody makes the comparisons because he's number 27, all that good stuff. But what I mean is his body control and his balance.
Yeah, on that one play.
And they're both little.
Just not on the one play, all the time.
I'm just saying that when he spun off and he thought he was down, he put his hand down, just kept on going.
Super strong, can continue moving when he gets hit. It just has really, really good body control and really good balance. I like J.K. Dobbins a lot.
We're talking about these zone blocking schemes and finding the holes in the defense. The more carries you get, the more repetition you get, the more you see how the defenders are playing these things. You see where the cut's going to be next time before the hole actually gets there. Right. So when you're having these 3 running backs with 8 carries each, they're not really getting to that point. But when you drop somebody out and they're both running 10 to 15 times, they're getting there. They're seeing those holes and they're playing better.
Right. Yeah. And then you had Gus come in. So again, you had a good balance here, right? I think I want to say Lamar had 15 carries in this game. Dobbins had 15 carries in this game. Gus had 16 carries in this game. So you spread the ball around well. Gus had 87 yards for a 5.4 yard average and a touchdown in this game. Again, to do this against the best run defense in the NFL just goes to show this, even with all the question marks, because we lost Phillips and Stanley early in this game. The replacements that came in still did their job. You're asking Orlando Brown to shift from the right side of the line to the left side of the line, which completely changes his footwork, completely changes his assignment, right? You have Pat McCarry come off the bench and play right guard, which, he's played a little bit this year in rotations and whatnot. But I thought against, again, a really good defensive front, they held their own and did well.
And now you have a right tackle that's pretty much a mauler. That's going to be much better at run blocking than he's going to be at pass blocking.
Yeah, DJ Fluker.
And so this is going to hurt me in some trade talks I want to do in fantasy, but I think this is the floor for the Ravens rushing offense, because I don't think they're going to be able to drop back and let Lamar pass with the offensive line they have. They're going to have to get back to last year's numbers. They're going to have to run it 70, 80% of the time and run it down people's throats, because that's what we're built for.
And I've got no problems with that.
I'm fine with it, but I think it's going to be they were trying. They were fighting for this balance because they thought that they got so far in one direction that once somebody stopped and they had nothing to do. So they were fighting for this balance. it's not going to be possible anymore.
Right.
And they're going to have to let those boys work and run forward and see how it goes.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, you're going to be able to throw the ball and play action, things like that every once in a while, but you got to start mauling.
Yeah, and another area I talked about earlier that this team needs to clean up is the undisciplined penalties. In this game, 9 for 110 yards.
Our teams have that in common.
Yeah. Seems to be a Ravens and a Terps thing. Yeah. 9 penalties for 110 yards. Steelers had 3 for 30. That stat alone usually doesn't win you a football game. Just in that in itself. If you're that lopsided in penalties, that'll cost you a football game.
But we were dominant offensively.
Yeah.
We were so much better. They were a 7-0 team right now and so much better offensively than them. The turnovers and penalties destroyed the score.
Yep. Speaking of it, go ahead, James.
We're just lucky Scott's not here because it would be an argument right now.
Why is that?
He said Boykins was open. There's a trust issue. It wasn't about trust issue. If you slow it down.
If you slow it down, this is what I was trying to say, Scott. I don't know if you heard me or not. If you slow it down and you actually go back and watch it, there was a safety out there that was playing between Boykin and Snead that was reading Lamar's eyes. When Lamar shifted over to Snead, he broke on that, which then left Miles Boykin open. So when you actually see the picture of him standing there by himself, it looks a lot worse than what it actually was.
But was he as close as the 3 players were to Willie Snead?
No, and to that point, if Lamar sees this, right, and sees his guy breaking towards Willie Snead, he could have very easily pump fake and then thrown it to Boykin in the corner of the end zone. So there's ways to counter that. And I don't blame Lamar for the throw. I don't blame Lamar for the decision. That was a very controversial end to the game, right?
And I don't think it should be. We might be on the opposite sides of this.
No, we're not on the opposite sides of this at all, because what I saw was Minkah Fitzpatrick going up, playing the ball. It was incidental contact that just so happened to go towards the head or anything. It was not malicious. It was not intentional. He literally got there as the ball got there.
If we both sprint for this ball that's in the center of us, we're going to run into each other because we're bigger than this ball.
Exactly.
That's what happened.
Exactly. I had no problem with it. I know John Harbaugh was kind of up in arms about it. I had more of a problem with the clock. Exactly.
A huge problem with the clock.
The play.
That was an issue. And I have people already mad at the refs that last play didn't work. But yeah, you can't just be like, oh, well, we didn't see it, so we let 20 seconds burn off. And you guys snap the ball with somebody behind the line of scrimmage. Well, if you're going to let me snap the ball with somebody behind me, then give me 5-yard penalty there because you forgot to stop it.
If you go back and watch the clock, they left us with 8 seconds. It would have been 18.
Which is 2 extra plays to 3 extra plays.
2 plays extra on top of the one you had. So you'd had 3 shots at either the end zone or getting even a little bit closer and then taking your shot to the end zone. And that game could have very easily ended differently.
And we all knew that guy wasn't injured. He just took the injury.
Cam Hayward?
Take the injury to slow down the defense.
He is actually injured.
I'm not going to call out the man.
Yeah, Cam. He got hurt on another play.
He got hurt earlier in the game.
Yeah, earlier in the game, and then
but the fans let him have it. Actually, I was at work for this game. The patients were watching, and one of my coworkers walked out as their car.
I thought it was completely BS, and it was a magnificent flop job by the ref. Did you watch it?
Yeah, he got punched in the forearm.
Yeah, it looked like I was watching the NBA play. Yeah. I mean, that's the kind of flop that he took, and to be so reactionary to throw him out. And not like that's not something that they can go back and review it and look at it and say, oh, you know what? I see the guy was holding his arm. He was trying to get away from it. It wasn't intentional or whatever. That cost you a Pro Bowl player on your defense for a good portion of the game against a division rival.
I don't understand how they could do that without going to replay. Like that should be an automatic review in that scenario because it's so egregious that if it was true that you haul off and hit a ref on purpose, we should know exactly who, when, and why, because this is going to be further punishment later. Right. So that should have to go to replay before you make that decision. I don't understand for this call and the future.
Go ahead.
No, just to add to it, at some point, almost every penalty at this day and age, maybe not every penalty, but in this day and age, you should be able to take a break for 20 seconds and realize, all right.
I thought that was the point of the guy in New York reviewing everything now.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's the whole point.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Scott's saying, yes, head ref can review to determine ejections.
Just decide not to.
I don't know why they didn't in this play, because that was definitely a prime.
That ref was sure who punched him in the forearm, and he just couldn't take it anymore.
Yeah. And then, like I said, talking about the penalties, Marcus Peters had a big early in this game, big pass interference call against him on 3rd down. That was crucial. Now, granted, he made up for it because he came back with a strip fumble and a recovery. So that was a big play by Marcus Peters early on in this game. But again, it's just little things, undisciplined football that continue to burn this team.
Yeah, it's absolutely the case of you can't play poorly in so many different areas and keep going for where you're trying to be.
Right. But to only give up 64 total yards of offense in the first half, the defense did their part. That's what I'm saying. Like, when you outside of the penalties, the only other area was Lamar in this game.
You can't imagine things going much worse for the Ravens, and we were right in the game to the last second.
Yeah.
Like, what else could happen? You lose 2 offensive linemen early, you lose a Pro Bowl defender, your star quarterback's playing like absolute garbage, and you're down 4 with the ball on the 10-yard line at the end of the game. Okay. Like this is we're going to win in Pittsburgh.
Right.
That's just how this game makes you feel, because it can't go. The ball can't bounce their way every time. We've seen this. We saw when the Chiefs demolished us, and then a week later they couldn't get anything going against the Patriots.
Right.
Like, luck sways, and right this week we had 0 luck.
But to me, this isn't all doom and gloom, right? Lamar's allowed to have a bad game, right? Just because he won the MVP last year, we all kind of hold him to this high standard and this high expectation. He had a bad game. It is what it is. I don't think that we need to be turning in the cards on Lamar that start to be worried about Lamar's progress or that he's regressing and all this stuff that people want to throw out there.
You see the bullshit?
He had a bad game.
We'll trade Lamar for Matt Stafford and Galloway.
God. Yeah.
Or Galladay.
Yeah. Unreal.
No,
the stuff that's going on out there. Listen, in this game, what I saw and that I liked, they got back to 2019 football. They won time of possession, 35 minutes to 24. Dominated on the ground with 265 total yards of rushing against one of the best defenses in the league. Power football. It's Lamar's turnovers and the team penalties that need to get cleaned up. These are things that are correctable. These are things that we've got. We're in week 9, going into week 9 now. We've got time to get this corrected. Even if we don't win the division, even if we end up finishing behind the Steelers and we get in as a wild card, right? There's 3 wild card teams now. Right?
We've already tried it as the division winner. It didn't work well. Let's go back to the wild card. We're really good at that.
Right. None of us had real high expectations for the 2012 team when they won the Super Bowl midway through the year, right? They got hot at the right time at the end of the year and went on a hell of a run. This team could do the exact same thing, even with the injuries to the offensive line. This can still be a potential Super Bowl team. These are areas that are correctable.
And COVID's cranking up. The NFL is already talking about maybe starting the playoffs early, adding additional teams to the playoffs. I can't see a scenario, if this is going in the direction that we're looking at, that there's going to be fans in the stands for playoff games, because we're going to go backtrack and we're going to start emptying some of these stadiums and start adding fans.
Right.
So what does home field advantage mean at that point?
Right. It's true. Now, one question I had to ask you, I don't know if you saw this or not. You know me, I'm on Twitter all the freaking time. Hollywood Brown posted a tweet post-game, then deleted it. Harbaugh texted him, asked him to delete it, so he deleted it.
Do you know that Harbaugh texted him, or you were just putting some spin on that?
No. This came out that Harbaugh asked him to remove it.
I had seen the tweet, but I didn't hear the whole Harbaugh part.
Yeah. So the tweet, if you didn't see it, Hollywood Brown put it out, said, "What's the point in having soldiers if you never use them? Never." Thoughts?
The question is this a shot at his best friend Lamar, or is this a shot at his offensive coordinator? Those are the only 2 possibilities.
So that was my initial thought. I thought it was more of a me thing, of a Hollywood thing. Like, you're not using me. I'm one of your soldiers, right? And is it a shot at Lamar? Is it a shot at Greg Roman? But the more I thought about this, I think it's just speaking towards the frustration of the wide receiver group as a core.
Yeah, that's all I'm looking at too.
Yeah.
It's not more of a me thing, but just because he said soldiers,
right?
He didn't say
I know
a soldier.
I immediately went from Hollywood Brown to Antonio Brown, a me guy, right? And that was my fear, was with Antonio chirping in his ear when they were working out together. Like, God, don't let his personality rub off on him. And at the first sign of adversity, that's what I did. I jumped to that. I had to take a couple minutes, take a breath, and realize that this was more about frustrations with the group and not himself.
Yeah, I mean, but it's a frustration with one person and not using that group.
Right.
I just don't know who that one person is. That's what we got to figure out.
Yeah, it's just that microcosm of jumping to Twitter to be immature and voice your displeasure, and then whether you're being told or not, going back like half an hour later, like I'm gonna take that back.
Right, exactly.
He's 21 years old, right? I mean, it happens.
Right. All right, so we talked about it a little bit, right? Marlon Humphrey came out today that he had tested positive for the coronavirus, so now he's in a 10-day quarantine isolation where he's got to go through daily testing. He's got to pass all the testing to be eligible to play again next week. They've already announced that he will miss this week's game with that 10-day window, right? But then they further announced that there were going to be 7 players that were also in this close contact, close vicinity isolation that they're going to have to isolate now for 5 days.
Got these fancy trackers that tell how long we're together.
Yep.
Yeah, Fred would definitely be isolating.
Matt Judon, Patrick Queen, Deshaun Elliott, LJ Fort, Malik Harrison, Terrell Bonds, and Tyus Bowser. Essentially 3/4 of your starting defense.
I'm surprised there's no cornerbacks on this list.
No corners?
Yeah, no corners. Like, why is he not in the
Well,
cornerback?
Terrell Bonds is a
Okay,
corner.
well, why is your whole cornerback squad not on this list? Don't you have the same coach? Don't you have the same squad? Like, are they doing a good job separating these guys for this scenario, I guess?
Well, if it's based on the trackers and how much they're around players, I mean, that could be them standing on the sidelines together, and he's standing next to his friends more so than he's standing next to his position group, because when you're on the field, you're in your spot, your corners are on the other spot, you're not standing right next to, you're standing in a huddle.
Yeah.
You're standing next to random people. You're not standing next to your position group. So it just kind of
that's
depends
true.
on how it's tracked.
We'd have to put this down. This might be like the whole left side of the defense.
Right. It could be. It could be.
That's where their huddle is, on the left side of the defense.
But the next hurdle with this is the 7 guys and their testing. Do they test positive, right? Because you get 2, 3, 4 guys that end up testing positive and they have to miss this week. The Colts are a good football team. And right now, we don't have a ton of depth at in the secondary at all, especially at cornerback.
Yeah.
Right? You're talking about your 3 starting linebackers there, and LJ Fort, Malik Harrison, and Patrick Queen. Who are you going to have started inside linebacker there? Right? If they just like, what was it, the Raiders, right? That they had their entire offensive line get tested or were in close vicinity. Now, granted, they all passed the testing and they were all able to play in that game, but you still got it in the back of your mind that this could get real bad and real ugly quick.
Yeah, we'll have to win like 85-84 if we don't have a defense to put in front of them.
Right. That's for sure.
We would just have to run the ball.
And then you have to worry about when they show up positive, because if you show up positive in the next couple of days, you're going to be playing without them. But if they show up close to game time, you're not playing.
Right.
You're not playing at all. I mean, I guess maybe that's the better of the scenarios. The best case scenario is nobody shows up positive.
Right.
No doubt.
Yeah,
but then the best,
cross our fingers, cross our toes that that's the scenario that happens.
Level 2, they show up pretty close to game time. We get this thing moved. We get to play with our defenders.
But either way, these guys can't practice all week, and that's a problem, right? I mean, to not be out there for 5 straight days, or well, I guess they're not practicing 5 straight days, but still, you're going to miss.
We say that, but
game
Tennessee
plan.
looked fucking great.
Yeah.
Tennessee sat out forever and came out and steamrolled people.
But then that was like the first game or two, and then now they've kind of like
but that's what I'm saying is like
really flatlined.
They were like out to prove the fact that practicing didn't matter.
I guess if we were
they
going
had
up,
high school practice.
They did cheat and practice a little bit early, but they got caught pretty far before that game to not be allowed to do that.
I mean, you got no Stanley going to this Colts game. You got no Humphrey going in this game. You got the potential at losing more. I know the whole mentality is next man up and all that, but it does make you a little nervous because this Colts team is a good football team. At 5-2, you got Phillip Rivers coming in, who's playing good football right now. In his last 2 games, he's 52 of 77 for 633 yards, 6 touchdowns, and 1 interception in his last 2 games. Playing good football, right? And they've got a great defense. Second against the run, only allowing 3.4 yards a carry. Ravens lead the league with 5.5 yards per carry. Second in rushing yards allowed at 79.9. Third in total yards allowed at 293. Fifth in points allowed, 19.4. And they lead the league in interceptions with 11. So this isn't just an average run-of-the-mill Colts team, a Jacoby Brissett-led Colts team. This is a good, balanced football team.
Let's not let them have any interceptions. 0 passes this week. Let's try it. Let's just see what we can do.
And the Colts
Show
defense got everybody back this week.
Right. Yeah. So,
and then Jimmy's banged up too.
Yeah, right. Jimmy, I was surprised Jimmy played this week. So, yeah, I mean, listen, like I said, we're already thin at cornerback. We lost Marshall in the very beginning of the year. Then we lost, Anthony Averett. We lost Tavon Young, right? We thought the strength of this team was going to be our cornerback and our cornerback's depth. Now, granted, we haven't lost our two biggest pieces of Marlon Humphrey except for this week and Marcus Peters, knock on wood yet. But still, behind them, who do you got? You got a couple of guys in Bonds and what's the other kid's name that came up off the practice squad? I can't think of his name right now. Either way, it's two guys coming off the practice squad that shouldn't be out there that are going to get crucial minutes in this game. A lot of minutes. Dorsey, Khalil Dorsey, right?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. And I think with the Steelers, what they did, I think they kind of exposed some things with Lamar. I think they're gonna spy Lamar more. I think they're gonna send their defensive ends and their outside linebackers after Lamar to make him uncomfortable and force him into bad decisions. But I think, like you said, the smart thing for the Ravens to do is just keep handing the rock off and let the Ravens control time of possession and let them get that 4 to 5 yards per carry. And
if Lamar's going to throw the ball, don't do it from inside the pocket.
Right.
Get him somewhere else. You can still throw the ball. You can still test the defense. You can still, test the secondary from elsewhere because he is not. The benefit of the pocket is so that you're in a place and you can read the defense equally. It's the same every play. He's not reading the defense. That linebacker was right in front of him. He threw it directly to the linebacker. So let him get out. Let him make his magic. The secondary reads. Have them bite up because they're scared that he's going to blow by him for 50 yards and expose him. That's what he's great at. Why are you trying to make him somebody he's not? Let him do what he did all the way through at Louisville. Let him do what he's done his whole life. He is a quarterback. He's just not the quarterback you're pretending he is.
Right. Trying to make him into something that he's not. I 100% agree with you. Good.
I think this is the perfect game where you do a lot of the early passing plays are the short yardage, the screens, the short tight ends. Like give him some reps where he's like maybe he starts the first 8 or complete and then get some
the problem with that is you're seeing a lot of defenses stack the box right now because the Ravens aren't taking any shots down the field, right? There's no reason for them to be guarding deep because the Ravens aren't exposing anything. That's the biggest area for this passing offense to improve. If they start taking deep shots down the field, all that's going to do is open up all of those underneath routes, those short routes, and it's going to get back to what they did last year. First game of last season, Hollywood Brown in his debut. I mean, they just took the top off the defense, with the Dolphins. And he did that on a few occasions. They even did that against the Rams, right? They did it in a few occasions.
And Andrews down the seam for 50 yards.
So the Andrews thing, I think partly is the loss of Hayden Hurst, the 3 tight end formations that they ran last year. I think I saw a stat earlier or something that the Ravens had 16 touchdowns out of 3 tight end formations last year. Well, they haven't had any 3 tight end formations at all this year. That's a big part of the game that's missing right now.
My boy Pat Ricard isn't showing up like he did last year. The couple times they have thrown the ball to him or handed the ball to him, there's nothing there.
I love Pat Ricard and I love his versatility, but he's not a tight end, right? I think that they're just they're asking him to do too much. Let him play fullback. That's what he is. He's a fullback. He's a pass catching fullback. So he has that ability that a lot of other fullbacks don't have. But we needed, and this is one of the things that I was hoping we would get in a trade or maybe a veteran that gets released, is pick up a 3rd pass catching tight end and really open up the seams. I think that benefits Mark Andrews a lot. Go ahead, James.
I think this game plan is going to be sort of like the fourth quarter. A lot of maybe college options. I think there might be a little more trickeries in this game.
I don't care if it's a boring football game.
No,
nobody wants to sit there and watch. Most fans don't want to sit there and watch a team just grind it out and pound the football. I get that it's not sexy, but at the end of the day, win this football game. Win the football game. I don't care if you win 17-14. You win a close game, a low-scoring game, old school Ravens football. You're not putting up 30 points a game like you have been all year. Win this football game.
I think
ugly or not.
We're going to do some probably like trickery plays, maybe low, like
end arounds
and stuff. Use our speed. Maybe Hill might get used.
As long as it's not the Heisman package, because RG3 needs to stay off my field.
Definitely don't want to see him out. But listen, this starts a tough stretch for the Colts, right? The Colts play us, then they got the division game against the Titans, Then they go up against the Packers. Then they play the Titans again. It's going to be a rough run for the Colts. Now, listen, they're 5-2. They haven't had the toughest of schedules to start the year. This is where you're going to really see how good this football team is. But like I said, when you look at the stats don't lie. They're a very good defensive football team. Phillip Rivers is still Phillip Rivers. He still annoys the piss out of me, but he's still an effective quarterback, right? They don't have
game manager that you discussed.
He is a game manager. He doesn't really lose you football games. He doesn't. Granted, he doesn't have a ton of targets out there. T.Y. Hilton is nothing compared to what he was, right?
No, he's out.
Is he out now? Okay, so like I said, they just don't have a ton of targets.
There.
Right. All right, so let's get into predictions then for this week. But before we do, social media shout out, James, who's been out there chiming in. I haven't even had a chance to look at the chat room much.
Garnett's been going off.
I'm sure he is, man. Appreciate you tuning in. Appreciate all the comments, Garnett, man.
Chuck, Dominic, Sherry, Garnett, Kaylee, LRJ, Zach, Scott, and Flo Rider, Christy, C Iron Addicted, Deshaun, Phillip, Alex, and Marvin, Marty, Oakley.
All right.
So
appreciate it. All right, Ryan, I'm going to start with you. Last week, you got the pick to click, right?
Yeah, I'm leading that second place race because first is already locked up by Fred.
You are second now with 2 pick to clicks. You got within 5 points of the Cowboys and Eagles game. Brian, kudos to Brian, who's not here tonight. He had some work things he had to take care of. He was the only one last week to go 4-0 in his predictions. Everybody else went 2-2. We were all pretty consistent across the board. Brian, his first 4-0 week. So I'm going to let you lead off, being that you got the pick of the click. How do you see this Ravens and Colts game shaking out?
I'm also leading 31-20 for the for the predictions for the year. It looks like I like that too. All right, so the Ravens prediction this week. I still have the Ravens. I'm banking on 6 to 7 of those close contacts being back for this prediction because if we don't have those, it changes everything. But 31-20, Ravens take this down.
All right, I've got this, like I said, in one of those ugly, low scoring for us compared to what it's been. You know, we've been getting over 30 points a game, right? I think that this game will be a ground and pound game. We'll still be able to score the football. It just won't be as frequent, right? Because we're going to be controlling the clock, running the clock. I think the Ravens win this one in a close one, but they win 24-20. James, what do you got?
I have it a 10-point game, 27-17 Ravens. I think it's going to be a grinder game.
All right. Drew, what do you got?
I got us the lowest. I got Ravens pulling it off, but it's 19-15.
Okay.
I see
interesting score.
A lot of field goals.
A lot of field goals.
Both sides.
Legit an old school Ravens football game.
Old school Ravens football game.
I like it. Brian's the only one on the other side. He's taking the Colts 30-24 in this game. Scott from Florida, he's got the Ravens winning this, I guess, in a more lopsided game than any of us have it. He's got the Ravens winning 30-17.
I'm really surprised James didn't bet on the cancellation. You already took a tie once this year, so I was kind of expecting him to be like, I'm going to put my bet on canceled. And
right.
I win if it's canceled.
All right, Thursday night football. This one had all the makings of being a good football game until the 49ers lost Jimmy Garoppolo and George Kittle now for the year. Both of those guys are out. You got the Packers going into San Francisco to take on the 49ers. I'll let James kick this one off. James, how do you see this game going? I
got the Packers coming back with redemption. Aaron Rodgers going to put up some touchdown, 41-13. They traded 49ers traded their second best player on defense, I think, to the Saints, their linebacker.
Yeah, Quan Alexander.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Aaron Rodgers going to be like, I got to kick some ass this week.
All right, Drew, what do you got?
Yeah, I got Packers 30, 49ers 16. I think it's going to have to be Rodgers because I don't even know who's going to be running the ball for them.
Yeah, I know.
The two guys, I mean, you got Dylan with the COVID, Jamal Williams with the close contact, so they're both out because of the Thursday game. He won't have time to test negative. And then Jones has still got the calf thing. So
right. Yeah, they haven't ruled Jones out completely yet, so he's potentially come back.
I don't think he is. I think they're still trying to take their time.
Right.
Because that's kind of how that staff, and especially in the strength and conditioning, all that. That's kind of
anybody can win a game with just 5 wide of scrubs. It's Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah,
right. Give me 5 guys around 200 pounds that can run, have 2 legs. Yeah, I'll make it work.
Yeah, it's
right.
Fine.
I got Packers winning this one 32-24 in a kind of close game too.
Yeah, I got Packers winning again. he has Devontae Adams. He doesn't really need anybody else. They didn't draft him a wide receiver, so he started off the season going buck wild and showing I don't need a wide receiver. They didn't pick up a wide receiver, even with all the chatter of Will Fuller and everybody else that was connect with him with the trade deadline. So I think he's going to go out there.
That would have been dangerous.
You don't want to get me any weapons? Doesn't matter. I'm still going to dominate the league, and he's going to go out and win this 35-17.
That's twice now that the Packers in 1 year have basically said, screw you, we're not bringing in a weapon. They did it during draft day, and they did it now during trade deadline.
Again, we talked about why my expectations changed for the trade deadline. If the Packers were ever going to shove the chips in, this is it.
Right.
This is 100% the year to shove the chips in. Why would you not leverage your future to go get this man a weapon that can shut this down?
100% agree.
I don't understand what they're doing.
Right. So the three of us go the Packers. The two guys that aren't here, Scott and Brian, both go the 49ers. Scott's got the 49ers winning 35-31. Brian's got the 49ers winning 24-20.
There's no way. Well, the three of us got that.
I like it. Sunday Night Football. Another good matchup. New Orleans Saints, Drew Brees, going into Tampa Bay to take on the ageless one, Tom Brady, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Buccaneers looked a little exposed last night on Monday Night Football against the Giants. Didn't play a great football game. I think the refs allowed them to win that game at the end with the pass interference.
Trap game.
Yeah, I don't know. I like what the Bucs are doing. They get Antonio Brown this week. I don't know how much they're going to work him into the offense, but Antonio Brown and Tom Brady had chemistry from day one when he went to New England. Now, granted, he wasn't there very long, but he had a touchdown in his first game there in New England. I think you see the same thing here with the Buccaneers. I think he gets a touchdown in his first game. I got the Buccaneers winning this close, 38-35.
Are we looking at Antonio Brown stay like Pittsburgh, Oakland, New England? Where we got 1 game, 0 games, or lots of games for him? And
the over and under on 4 games for Antonio Brown. Under.
The four is easy. He's going to go out and celebrate, do something dumb after his 1 touchdown and 40 yards this week.
Right.
All right. So anyway, I got the Saints. I got the Saints 41-35. I don't know how. I don't know if Michael Thomas is ever going to play again on a football field, much less in New Orleans. As somebody that took him in the first round of a fantasy draft, I'm sitting here waiting for him to come back somehow in first place with that team with 3 points for the whole year. I don't know. But he's got Alvin Kamara, and he seems to just make it work. And this is, if he's going to get up for a rivalry game and shake off some of those old man feelings he's been having all year, it's going to be against Tom Brady.
All right, James, what do you got?
I just feel this is going to be a bounce back game for the Bucs. We all thought like the Bucs were going to dominate the Giants because they're just sorry, but it happens. And I have the Bucs winning 44-37. Tom Brady's hanging out with AB, eating, sleeping, working out, going over the playbook at home on the practice field. You're going to see a lot of Antonio Brown this week.
All right, Drew, what do you got?
So I'm got another one where I'm the lowest scoring choice. I got the Bucs 27 and over the Saints 20.
Okay.
A lot of that first game of the season, yes, sometimes those first games you're feeling out, you're trying to see what you got. These are 2 really good defenses for the most part, especially when they're playing against
Tampa
each
Bay's
other.
got a great defense, yeah.
I mean, maybe they feel like they got a little punch in the mouth because they almost lost to Danny Dimes. I don't know.
Right.
But, I have them squeaking it out, 27-20.
Now, the other factor we haven't talked about here is I know Michael Thomas isn't in the fold this week for the Saints, but they do get Emmanuel Sanders back this week, right? And they haven't had Emmanuel Sanders back for a while because of the whole COVID thing, right? So they get him back, so he does get a good target in this game. So
that's starting to pick up right before he had to sit up. Like,
right.
Beginning of the year was a little
just
soft.
starting to get comfortable into the offense
with him, and then they made him sit down.
Exactly. Scott and Brian both go with the Bucs. Scott's got the Bucs winning 38-28. Brian's got the Bucs winning 31-35.
Brian's got 41-35. The same
score
score
as
Brian.
Right.
But opposite.
Right. Sorry about that.
It's on the wrong side of that.
Monday Night Football. Monday Night Football in a probably going to be the shittiest Monday Night Football game of the year, right?
No.
Great.
I guess it's bad. You got the New England Patriots who the wheels are just falling off. Bill Belichick's coming up with excuse after excuse as to why they're struggling as bad as they are. Going in against the tanking for Trevor Jets. I think at this point we can all admit that that's what's going on with the New York Jets.
I heard Adam Gase is going to play quarterback this week.
Probably gives him a better shot at winning at this point. All right, Ryan, how do you see this game shaking out?
No point in talking about this one much. Like you said, it's not going to be very exciting. But 28-17, I got Cam Newton showing off against one of the worst teams in the league because it's the only way he can show off.
All right. I've got this in a sloppy football game, but I do think it is Bill Belichick. He'll figure out a way to eke one out. I've got the Patriots winning 19-17 in an ugly game. James.
I had this. You probably had more action looking at Belichick's face than this game, but I feel like this could be an easy Jets game, winning 27-21. I think Belichick is probably trying to get Trevor Lawrence now, and he does this little shit show of what's up there right now and saying that he don't have any players, this and that. For a guy that says he can coach anybody, doesn't look like he's coaching shit. So
what if they kick this ball off and just like every play is just somebody taking a safety because they're just trying to get Trevor
right.
walking back?
I think this is the game that if they lose to the Jets and they only have one win,
Yeah.
You never know what New England's going to do.
No, that's
They
true.
got plenty of money next year.
Get crazy amount of draft picks.
They'll figure it out. Scott's chiming in and says Pat's dynasty is officially over. Well,
Three
we'll
people
see.
picking the Jets here.
Yeah.
Scott and Brian also picking the Jets.
What do you got, Drew?
I got Patriots 20, Jets only 6.
Okay.
And that ain't even going to be a pretty 20. That's going to be 2 defensive touchdowns. It's just the Jets are not winning a game this year. It's not happening.
It is. That's why they play the games. Anything could happen.
The ownership wants the number 1 pick so bad. They know Gase needs to go, and they just, fuck it. You're out there. Your coach should do whatever he wants.
Please continue to make my team terrible.
Yeah, Gates is going to be back next year. He should have been fired already.
I can't imagine him being back next year. There's just no way. There's just
Trevor will stay in college if Adam Gase continues to
That's true. Scott's got the Jets winning this one 21-17. Brian's got the Jets winning 20-17. All right, Ryan, it's time for the Liquor Stop Brew of the Week. Jerry hooked us up with this Silver Branch Brewing Lost in the Fog California Common. Silver Branch Brewing's out of Silver Spring, Maryland. It's made with their traditional Northern brewer hops, 2-row, crystal, and coffee malts. To me, it's got a little bit of a kind of a fruity taste to it, a little bit of a grapefruit undertone. I'm not the biggest grapefruit fan, so if you like grapefruit, you'll probably like this.
And the title goes good, Lost in the Fog. It was like our Ravens game.
Right.
Lost in the Fog.
Good point. I like it. What's your thoughts as you crack it open and try it on the air?
It's okay. I mean, it's a little heavy wheat taste for me. I'm also thrown off by a Maryland brew company that's going to pick the Golden Gate Bridge.
Yeah, San
we
Francisco.
happen to have a very nice bridge right here. You could have went with. I don't.
It's the
Says
fall.
it's conceived in the midst of San Francisco Bay during the gold rush years. This warm, fermented lager is toasty, slightly fruity, and refreshing.
So this has been sitting in like his grandfather's like cabinet for 300 years, like in California, and he happened to drive to Maryland to come brew it. That's the worst story I ever had. I suggest, because of this story, buying anything else Liquor Stop has.
Wow. Strong opinions. If you want it and you want to try it and you're a grapefruit fan, get up to Liquor Stop. Tell them Birdland BS sent you. Get your 10% off. Oh, man. All right, Ryan.
The story didn't make any damn sense.
Well, you're smiling at a good time because it's time for some shell and sell. You got your Terps gear on here with your shirt and everything, right?
We got to live up this win while we got it.
Yeah. I was hoping this was going to be an epic weekend, right? You know, it started off great on Friday as the Terps win an unexpected game. Neither you, I, Scott had any expectation that the Terps would win this game. We just hoped that they would stay competitive, stay in this game, and that we would see improvement from the offense over what they did in week 1, which wouldn't take much. Wouldn't take much to improve because that week 1 game against Northwestern was absolutely horrible. They did more than that in this game.
They did a lot more than that in this game. And I just got to point out, Scott's saying he needs to call in now. We don't need any help in the Terps segment, man.
Yeah, definitely don't need your...
We don't need your Terps opinion.
Don't need your negative Nancy in here, Scott. Not for Terps talk.
Let him call. Can he call in so we can just find out how much crow tastes?
We'll work
Yeah,
on
right.
that for the after hours or something, then I guess.
Yeah, we'll get you in the after hours for sure.
Yeah, Talia played great. I mean, one of the best quarterback performances we've seen out of him. I mean,
Definitely the best quarterback performance I've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, not out of him, out of Maryland.
Right.
Almost 400 yards passing, another like 70 yards rushing. This guy did everything. He had 5 touchdowns, 3 passing, 2 rushing.
Yeah.
This guy did anything you would want from a man.
He was cool, calm, collected, threw with precision accuracy, which was what I was trying to get across to you, Scott, last week, was that, yes, he made some piss poor decisions.
Really bad decisions in Northwestern.
Terrible decisions, but the throws themselves weren't bad. And we saw that in this game. We saw him throwing with accuracy on the move, which I said, I've been saying that since we got him. This guy's got underrated mobility in this game. He had, over, I think, 80 yards rushing in this game. It was a great game overall. It started from the first drive and went all the way through in overtime, where he single-handedly scored the game-winning touchdown.
Yeah, he did have one interception, as Scott pointing out here. It was not a bad interception.
Not a bad interception.
It was a screen pass that just didn't have quite enough air on it. Defender made a great play. He backtracked, just barely got a finger on the ball, and it happened to drop in somebody else's breadbasket. That's just going to happen. I mean, our defender, Chance Campbell, got right up in his face. We got you, bro. We're going to get this back. No big deal. And that one of the benefits I saw was that interception happened. Because if you go out there and you steamroll people and you're just winning from jump street to the end,
yeah.
As a Terp fan, I'm going to feel a little icky about that, because I'm like, how bad were they?
Right.
And what have we actually learned from this? What I learned from this, no matter how bad Minnesota ends up being, they might be good, they might be bad, we responded to adversity. He did throw that interception, and he didn't get that look that he got in his eyes against Northwestern where he fell apart.
It didn't feel like it was too much for him.
We did fall back behind at 17 points and didn't hang our head and didn't check out and go home like we did almost all of last year.
Exactly.
As soon as you were down by 10 points, we were like, I'm out. Peace. We saw them play through it, come back. It was better for me than a boat race. It really was.
He showed that he had the it factor, the clutch factor, as you mentioned, being down 17 points going into the fourth quarter to be able to lead your team to come back when really Minnesota, the one area for the Terps that they need to improve on is defense, right? Minnesota had been marching up and down the field, scoring at will. You're up 17 points going into the fourth quarter. The defense did their job, stopped them late, but Talia stayed calm, stayed collected, and was able to get them back in this game and get the game tied and take it to overtime.
Yeah, they could have scored on every drive of this game. We punted on a 4th and 2 on their 40, which I thought was a very strange decision when you were down so many points. Then we had a penalty that stopped a drive on the 6-yard line, and we had a fumble on the 1-yard line into the end zone. Other than that, we scored every drive. It was an amazing offensive performance, and the defense did just enough to squeak it out.
And I think the other thing that you got to hang your hat on with the offense, and there's a couple things, right? But in relation to Talia, was just how good this offensive line played.
Clean pocket. That's the cleanest pocket I can remember ever.
Gave Talia plenty of time to make his reads, make his decisions. A couple times he had to roll out and extend plays with his legs, which he has the athleticism to be able to do that, right? But literally, you had Jake Funk in this game, who had a career game rushing for 220-some yards in this game. That offensive line, not just in pass blocking, was opening up holes a tractor-trailer could drive through.
Yeah, we've been waiting for this for Jake Funk. Jake Funk is no scrub. He's been on the bottom end of our depth chart for a long time because we've been rolling in some NFL talent. But Jake Funk leads all-time Maryland rushing history for high school stats. He's the all-time leading rusher. So this was not completely unexpected. He's just been losing ACLs every time he touches the field.
And that's the big question mark with him, was how much would he have? He put in the work, he put in the effort as far as the rehab goes and all that, but how much toll were those knee injuries going to take on him? Well, it didn't seem to affect him at all in this game.
Nope. His brother, Dr. Josh Funk,
got him going right.
Got him going right. Got some free advertisement from his brother, making his place look real nice. He's playing amazing. We got to keep him healthy because we did not see a lot from our freshman running backs.
Yeah.
The one thing we saw from our freshman running back was one carry for a fumble from
at the goal
Penny
line.
Boone to the goal line, and we saw Isaiah Jacobs on the kick return bobble another kick return. I don't want to see him on any more kick returns. I'd like to see you as a running back, sir. You look like you're pretty good at it. We can get some more carries, but you don't need to return any more kicks, at least this year.
Wide receiver group looked great out there.
Studs across the board.
Talia spread the ball around. He had 6 players in this game, 6 players with 3 or more catches, right? You got all the big names involved. You got Dante Demas involved. Jashawn Jones, who looks like a little bit of an arrogant a-hole, in my opinion.
That's what a wide receiver is, right?
He's a little. He definitely has a little bit of diva in him. You got the freshman and Rakim Jarrett involved in this game. So I liked the ability to spread the ball around and use your playmakers, right? And he was able to do that. Let's flip to the defensive side of the ball. The biggest question mark with this Terp, we have to, right? As much as we want to praise the team right now because they won an unexpected game and it's great, the defense did what they needed to do late. They shut them down. They allowed Talia to come back into this game and for the Terps to get back in. But like I said, for 3 quarters, Minnesota just ran up and down the field against us and scored at will.
Started with the 3 and out, and then it was terrible until the 4th quarter.
Right. The only standout on that defense right now, Chance Campbell, right? This guy, you got to start talking about him potentially for the Butkus Award. I know it's only 2 games in, but in reality, in an 8-1 season, that's a quarter of the way through the season.
Quarter pole.
Right. We're already a quarter of the way through the season, which is crazy. But, I mean, he leads the Big Ten in tackles. He had 13 total tackles in this game, a sack, and 2.5 tackles for a loss. He's got 28 tackles in 2 games. There's nobody better at the linebacker position right now in the Big Ten.
Yeah, he's leading average, or he's the number 1, tied for the lead for the number 1 amount of tackles, 2nd place in solo tackles. So he's definitely in the conversation. He has to be. That's what the job of a linebacker is.
Right.
He doesn't have any huge interception for touchdown things to be that tiebreaker. So he's going to have to keep playing well and keep this going throughout the year. But he's definitely going to be in the conversation as long as he keeps playing.
Super smart player. He's got a high football IQ.
He's right where he needs to be every play.
Every play he's there. We talked about it, with the first interception, or the only interception, Scott, that Talia threw in this game. The first player in his ear, Chance Campbell.
Yeah.
Chance Campbell ran out onto the field and got right in his ear, gave him whatever words of encouragement that he gave him. But that's what you want from a leader. Exactly. All right. So the other question I got to ask you, right? We talked last week about maybe, not utilizing certain players to their strengths or not using certain players at all, right? Ruben Hippolyte, guy that, freshman linebacker that I know you've been high on since we got this kid to commit, didn't see the field at all in this game. All right. When you got a defense that's struggling like this, a defense that's struggling to set the edge against the run, the way you counter that is with speed. Ruben is probably the fastest linebacker on this squad right now, even as a freshman. Why is he not out there?
I don't know why he's not out there. I don't know if this is just a freshman thing. This is what we do with our freshmen. This is how we're going to play our freshmen. These are the 4 games our freshmen are going to play in. Maybe that's all it is. Maybe, he mouthed off that he needs more playing time after the terrible defensive showing week 1. We also noticed that Nick Cross wasn't out there for most of the first half. So also could be some kind of in-house penalty that we're unaware of with that.
Right.
Same thing. Like when you have big-time athletes, the Joshwan attitude comes with it. And these big-time athletes got embarrassed at Northwestern. So who knows what was said in that locker room at that point. Nothing but praise was said after this win. Yeah. They were all real happy. They're all brothers now.
Well, I know we noticed, too, with Nick Cross, right? You and I both, obviously, we're big fans of Nick Cross, so we're constantly looking for where he is on the field. He wasn't on the field at all in the first quarter, not until the very end of the first quarter. So you and I started thinking like, wow, maybe something happened. Maybe there was something that was said and, that he was benched there for the first quarter. Yeah. I watched his Instagram feed after the game. He seemed to be happy. He seemed to be in good spirits. Obviously, they just won a big game and everything, but it seemed to be whatever it was an isolated incident. They squashed it. They moved on from it. And Nick Cross played a big role in those 3 quarters that he was out there.
All you got to hope is that when we don't win a huge game, that we continue to have that brotherly love.
Well, the next big test is one of our big nemesis, and that's Penn State. Now, I know Penn State right now doesn't look pretty. They're 0-2. That's why Joe Carlozo isn't here, right? He didn't want to take the heat. All right, Penn State's 0-2 at this point. But I want to say in the last 3 games that we've gone against Penn State, they beat us like 164-6 combined.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hasn't been pretty
for us.
The last win we had was with Diggs here, and Diggs brought me Raheem Jarrett. So I'm expecting that Raheem Jarrett will be getting a phone call this week, pump him up a little bit, release the beast. Number 5, Raheem is going to go bonkers, calling for a 100-yard game against Penn State tomorrow.
I don't think that's a bad call, though. It's funny is he's pretty vocal on Twitter and social media and whatnot. And he had mentioned that I guess some of his family and friends had given him some flack about some of the catches that he made on the sideline and just kind of turning and going out of bounds instead of turning up the field. They called him soft. He said, all right, I got you.
Yeah. Your old sponsor, MyBookie, should take some advice here. I want a money line on whether or not they're going to shake Penn State's hand. I need the money line on the handshake. Do we pull back the digs?
Right. All right. Like I said, Penn State comes in here 0-2, coming off an opening loss to Indiana, 36-35, and a questionable win in overtime. Needless to say, it was Indiana. They shouldn't have gone to overtime with Indiana, but they did, and they lost that game. And then this week, I guess they had the more expected loss.
Ohio State
to number 3, Ohio State, 38-25. Realistically, do you think the Terps can win this game, and what's it going to take to win this game?
I think they can win this game. I don't think they will. We did our predictions yesterday. I had about a 10-point loss in the 30s. Definitely covering this 25-point spread or something crazy.
Right now Penn State's favored by 25.
So I mean, but you know what, we've been wrong. We are right. We were 1-1. That's what we called for. We just called for winning Northwestern and losing to Minnesota.
Didn't get there the way we thought we would, but we're 1-1.
We got the record right.
Well, listen, the one thing in the 2 games that we've played so far has been teams have just run the ball up and down the field on us, right? Penn State doesn't scare me running the football. Their biggest threat is their quarterback, Sean Clifford. That guy's mobility is good, right? So you're going to have to account for him. You're going to have to spy him. You're going to have to contain the edge much better than what this Terps team has done so far.
He's leading the team in carries and rush yards.
Yeah, 35 attempts for 124 yards. That just goes to speak to the lack of running back depth that they have there at Penn State.
Yeah, they have one wide receiver that's going absolutely bonkers. He's got almost half the receiving yards. I don't have the name in front of me because I don't have the paper.
It's John Dotson.
John Dotson. So he's got over half the receiving yards. Past that, they only have a tight end. So it should be a little bit easier on that side of the ball. This is the thing, is it's strength versus strength here. So they have a defense that scares me, but we have an offense that works, and their offense doesn't really scare me. So we should be in the game.
Yeah,
it should not look like last year. Just
Penn
like Minnesota
State
didn't look like last year.
Penn State lost their best defender in linebacker Micah Parsons. He ended up sitting out this year because he's going to be draft eligible. Didn't want to do anything to jeopardize that. So he's pretty much a guaranteed top 15 pick as it is already.
Yeah.
So he decided to opt out, and they're struggling. They're struggling up the middle with their linebackers. Now, one thing that Penn State does have, they do have a lot of speed on that defense, right? Their ends, their outside linebackers, they're quick. So
it's going to be a test for a young offensive line.
Yeah, it's going to be a good test. Tackles. Good test for the offensive line. I think the tight ends, which haven't been a part of the offense at all for this Terps team, are going to have to stay in, are going to have to chip a little bit to help those offensive tackles out a little bit. And I think Talia is going to have to get the ball out a little quicker in this game than maybe he did against Minnesota.
Yeah, we're going to see more 3 wide receiver sets instead of the 4 and 5 wide that we saw against Minnesota, because you got to get some people in there blocking. But Jake Funk, on top of his 200 yards rushing, looked like the best pass blocker in the history of time. Everyone that got through was demolished by Jake Funk immediately. No one came near Talia.
No, you don't have to give me a score. I'm going to ask all 3 of you. Do the Terps win this game?
No, but it'll be fun to watch.
It'll be fun to watch. Do they cover the spread?
Yes.
Cover the spread. James, do the Terps win? Do they cover the spread?
The way that the Terps been
spread
playing,
is 25.
The way that the Terps been playing, I'm sorry to say this, they can probably win this game, even though I'm a Penn State fan. Penn State looks sloppy. They lost their running back in the beginning of the year.
Right.
Anything can happen with this 2020 year. I think it's a toss-up.
Okay.
I feel.
But if you think it's a toss-up, then you're saying they're definitely covering the spread.
Oh yeah,
and it could go either way.
They're covering. To be honest, Maryland looked sloppy against their first game, and they look great the second, except the defense. But Penn State doesn't look that great compared to last year.
The problem is we saw potential in that offense against Northwestern. We kind of knew that there was going to be a step up. We didn't know it was going to be the giant step up that we got this week. I'm not seeing a lot of potential for improvement outside of the players that aren't playing
right
for this defense. So that's where I think we saw in that fourth quarter, that's as good as that defense can play. So if we can get that fourth quarter for 4 quarters, we could beat Penn State.
Yeah.
But I don't think we're getting much more than that fourth quarter out of that defense.
I don't think it's a blowout like last year.
That'd be great. That'd be a great step in the right direction.
That'd
If we
be
could score a
definitely a step.
touchdown, it would be a step in the right
We
direction.
talked about
That's how I
we
feel.
talked about being against these big names, Penn State, Ohio State, being within 3 possessions, being in within 3 scores is a win for us. And I still feel that way. This game makes me feel more confident that I want to say we actually have a chance at win.
14
I
points.
know, right?
I
I want to be, but at the end of the day, if we're within 21 points of this team or 17 points of this team, I'm still happy with that.
Yeah.
Personally. Drew, what do you got?
It's going to be close to the end. I think you're covering the spread, and I'm with it. I can't. It's a toss-up.
Yeah. So you definitely cover the
wouldn't
spread.
shock
Are
me
we
to
all
see 'em-
within 10 points on this game? Is that a better spread for us?
I'm at 13. I'm at 13.
13.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. I still think it's a 3-possession game. But
Yeah.
two possession
Yeah,
game.
I just don't see it being an ass kicking.
I can see that.
Has been. Yeah.
All right. Last bit of news for the Terps. Couple of former Terps been seen around campus.
Yeah, we're getting some engagement of our vets.
Yeah.
Some of my favorite players. So
Torrey Smith, right?
Yeah, so Torrey was back in town. He just came by and spoke to the team. He was at Cole Fieldhouse, all masked up, socially distanced, all that good jazz.
Right.
But he spoke with the team, and then today we got news that Mr. William Likely is back with the team for the remainder of the season as a volunteer.
Good.
That's it. That's the end of the description.
Good.
Volunteer cornerbacks coach, volunteer special teams coordinator.
Let him be out there as a
volunteer.
special teams coordinator, because I'm going to tell you right now, you just said it earlier, Isaiah Jacobs is an issue with those fumbles, right?
Total issue.
We don't know who's going to be a replacement returner. I'd love to see Will Likely out there working with these guys.
And little William Likely is one of the most entertaining players we have ever seen on a Maryland field. He didn't make the league. I think it's ridiculous. He played a couple of little games here and there with the Patriots. I think he got into camp a couple times.
Yeah.
But he was the only talent on that team. I used to joke on the sidelines that we should punt on first down so that we get the ball back into Will Likely's hands, because we only scored those years on interceptions and punt returns, and it was only Will Likely.
Right.
Nobody else reached the end zone.
Right. Yeah, that's true, man. It's just good. It's good to see some of these old former Terps back on campus supporting the team. I think this is good not only for the team, but I think it's good for the recruits. I think seeing some of these big NFL names and stuff like Torrey Smith in the house, I think is good. We've seen Diggs in the past that's been there. We've seen DJ Moore in the past. He's been there, since before the season started and whatnot. I think it's good having these names.
I like my wife over here. She's giving us a hard time. She said she likes our predictions because we all picked Penn State, and all our predictions have been wrong so far this year. So that's good.
Good point.
I like that.
Very valid point.
We all see the NFL game day, and whenever everybody picks the Ravens, we're like, oh, shit. So that's it happens.
That's
really
right.
does.
That's true. All right, Ryan, it's time for this week's rundown. And I'm going to start this one off. This is a Baltimore-related topic in the rundown. Is Baltimore's own Tank Davis defended his title. It continued his undefeated run by knocking out Leo Santa Cruz in the 6th round with a mean uppercut. Did you watch this?
I did not get to see this.
Oh,
no,
my
that surprised
God,
me.
man.
He's Baltimore strong. I've seen a couple of his fights. This man, he just looks rough and tumble. He's been doing this on and on, in and out of the ring for a while, I believe.
This kid's power is serious. It's just unreal. It's unmatched. You could literally see Cruz's soul leave his body. I mean, he collapsed right in front of his father there on the sideline, which it looks terrible. I mean, I don't mean to speak ill of the guy, but it literally looked like something out of the old Mike Tyson punch-out knockout game, from NES days.
We need a Mike Tyson back in these days. We need somebody to get
So-
some entertainment going in boxing.
That was going to be my follow-up question to you. So obviously this kid's Baltimore born and raised kid, right? In his career, he's 24-0. 23 of those wins have been by knockout. Is this a kind of kid that can rally the sport and kind of put the sport back on the map? Do you think he has that kind of power or that kind of following?
You need two, because you can't be beating up on chumps. That's the problem.
That's a good point.
You need that heel, that rival.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there is somebody else out there that can really get it going, but if you had two similar men or two even contrasting styles but dominating, a Money Mayweather versus a knockout artist,
Right.
then you could probably get it back to somewhere. I don't know that it'll ever be the number one fighting sport, because UFC is just so entertaining.
It's such a more entertaining product.
They've expertised the fan experience. Even in these empty arenas, they've made it watchable.
Right.
And it gets more the casual, like, oh my God, look at that. And that's, That's why when you see a fight in the street, everybody pulls out their cell phone. Like that's what UFC is. That's how a fight actually works, not how boxing is.
You guys have any opinions on this? Did you see Tank? Did you watch the fight? Did you see the knockout?
That poor guy would have fell out of the ring if it wasn't in the corner.
Oh, I know.
Just like you said,
like a bag of bricks,
body.
man. It was unreal. Switching up a little bit in sad news, unsports related, but I had to bring this up. Legendary actor Sean Connery passed away on Saturday at the age of 90. This is a guy in some of my favorite movies growing up, but more famously known for obviously playing James Bond, and I think like 6 or 7 different James Bond movies that he was in. Which I didn't realize this until I was reading an article about him. He got that role, as legendary role a James Bond is, right? He got that role without a screen test. Like that just goes to show like how talented
Sean Connery is obviously the person.
Exactly. That just goes to show how talented of an actor that this guy was. I mean, for me, all the movies that he's been in, Hunt for Red October,
great.
The Rock.
Yep.
I know that was one of your favorites. Indiana Jones, he was in that. He was the father, what's the name? Harrison
Jones?
Ford. Yeah. It's just been in a lot of movies. I loved Indiana Jones, right? But I think Hunt for Red October, probably my favorite movie.
Yeah, rest in peace, Sean Connery. I hope we can all get 90. So, I mean, I'm not going to cry for the man, but
but still
very sad
news,
to see him
man.
go. We don't need any more bad news in 2020, so any little bit sucks.
And one of my favorite skits on Saturday Night Live was when they would do the Sean Connery with the Jeopardy skit. Oh my God, it was absolutely hilarious. So, yeah, rest in peace to Sean Connery. Had to bring that up. You want to talk about this next story, the Bears wide receiver? Hopefully you guys saw this.
I was watching.
Okay, so you watched the actual game as it happened.
Yeah.
I didn't see this one. You should probably cover it.
Oh, okay. So Bears wide receiver Javon Wims probably going to end up getting suspended for a while. He did end up getting
He got
suspended.
2 games, so it'll probably be 1 though. Because usually you see how they always get reduced, but he got 2 games.
He's going to appeal it.
To get.
This guy straight up mugged a Saint cornerback. What was his name? Chauncey Gardner-Johnson.
I did see this. I'm sorry. I forgot.
That's why I was like, how did you not see this?
Yeah, we discussed this last night.
Yeah,
I was lost.
Yeah, absolutely absurd. Like, he ripped the guy's mouth guard off his face mask.
Yeah, so the play before, so what he got suspended for was unprovoked on that play.
Right.
He went over and attacked the other player, slapped him upside the helmet. It looked like a punch to me at first, and I'm like, why do you punch helmets?
It was
why
open-handed.
do people keep doing this? But even that, slapping a helmet's so stupid. And then just started beating this man. And he wasn't even being covered by him on that play. So everybody's like, what's going on? I did see later that it was a play earlier that he had the mouth guard hanging from his face mask, and that player that he went and retaliated against had snatched it off his face mask and just stole the mouthpiece. And like he had to go off the field and get a mouthpiece to be able to play again, like after that. So it was not unprovoked, but it was definitely a planned attack. It was first degree assault. It wasn't reactionary.
The funniest shit I saw was somebody on social media, it was either Facebook or Twitter, made a comparison to Grand Theft Auto. Like when you randomly go punch somebody that's standing on the side of the road. Like that's what that looked like.
Exactly.
Like the dude gets smacked and he just stands there like, what the fuck
he
just
didn't
happened?
react at all. He got slapped and he stood there like, well, you slapped my helmet. Who
It
cares?
was absolutely
It
hilarious.
was the exact opposite of what you can see out of Tank.
Right.
Like it was the exact opposite.
All right. So I know you did bring up a story today about NASCAR, which I was kind of surprised for you to be bringing up a story about NASCAR.
Yeah,
What
I mean, I'm
happened?
not the biggest NASCAR fan, but this is interesting to me. Late in Sunday's race at Martinsville Speedway, the directive was given or heard over the radio to Eric Jones to not pass his teammate Denny Hamlin. Hamlin was hovering near the cut line to advance the championship race. They're both Joe Gibbs racers.
Yeah.
So apparently they're saying there was like some insider play and trying to like
Happens all the
make
time.
sure that he's there. Yeah, that's the thing is like, I don't understand how this is a problem because that's why there are racing teams.
I think it was just because they were so blatantly obvious about it. If they made an announcement on the radio, like that's why they got caught. This kind of shit happens all the time. They just need to work out coach speak. Like they need to work up some sort of code speak where
we're good here.
Yeah, something. If
No,
you hear
don't
me
pass
say
it.
this, that means don't pass. Like
So they tried to explain it off and say that like, yes, we said that, but we said that because we knew that Hamlin was on the bubble and that he would rather wreck the guy trying to pass him than let us by, which is actually a really good lie if it's most likely a lie.
Right.
I'm not going to lie. little jealous you came up with that on the snap. But apparently there's like some really vague rule in NASCAR that competitors are to race at 100% of their ability, the goal achieving their best possible finishing position at events.
Which there's no way to prove
at all.
Exactly. And I think that's why they did what they did, was because they blatantly said something on the radio that NASCAR monitors, right? So that's why I think they brought this in as an issue.
And in all kinds of racing, there's like this sandbagging mentality. There's the guy that gets out front. Even in track and field, it's like on the long distance stuff, not the sprints, but long distance stuff. You get out front and people are pacing you, and you're saving it so that when somebody decides to get froggy and come around, you go.
Yeah.
So like, a lot of racing is about what's behind you.
It's all
not
strategy.
Just going as fast as you can on the course.
No.
Because if it was, then you wouldn't do it at the same time. You would all just do time trials.
Yeah.
It would all,
you're using drafting to save gas mileage,
which you do with your teammates.
to save your tires,
which
right?
apparently would be cheating.
You don't even have to do that with your teammates. You're doing that with just friends that you have on the track. But yes,
a lot
you do
of
that
time
with
they
your
team
teammates.
up to pass with your teammates.
Exactly. This was just it's a BS written rule within NASCAR. I think they need to do away with.
Yeah, really interested to see where this goes.
100% agree. Speaking of BS rules,
Juju
and
showing some leg.
If you didn't hear about this, Pittsburgh Steelers wide receiver Juju Smith-Schuster and James Conner were both fined $5,000 by the NFL for apparently showing too much leg. Apparently, they got a letter from the league informing he was being fined for violating the NFL's uniform and equipment rules, specifically that your stockings failed to cover your lower leg.
I mean,
what kind of? This is just ticky-tack bullshit.
This is a family show. We cannot be having calf muscles on national TV. We can have people assault somebody because the mouth guard was taken off.
Oh, it's all right to have a
No
dick
problem.
print in the middle of your pants, but you can't show too much
Nobody
leg.
wears a cup ever. you can have a guy beat someone senseless with a helmet, and he only gets a couple games.
You had some guy's dick fall out during the combine, right?
Yeah,
That was all right.
We made it was like a 1 hour commentary on NFL Network about it.
That was entertaining.
But yeah, can't show too
But
much
no,
leg.
Don't show the leg. If you didn't want somebody to show leg, you got to get rid of that underwear Olympics. It is the combine.
Yeah, exactly.
Would they have like one of the refs like, excuse me, head NFL? I just want to let you know we have two players showing legs down here. Just put them down for two.
I saw his ankle.
Unreal.
No rules. No boundaries. 2 topics. 30 seconds each. It's time for the 2-minute warning.
All right, Ryan. It's time for the 2-minute warning. I have not looked at these questions yet. James wrote these like right before the show started. So do you want to go first? I'm going to give you. I'm not just going to say, hey, you're going first.
Go first.
You want to go first?
We
I'm
got
going
the
first.
peanut gallery over here. that came up.
Whoa, wait.
So
Not chopped meat over here. I can't
That's
go with one
right.
other
That's
question.
right. I'm sorry. Drew did come up with one. That's right. I haven't had a chance to read them yet. You said you're going to start?
I'm going first. I don't know why
All
you guys always argue over who goes last. Silly.
all right. The first question is going to be, it's voting day. So how do you
Election
guys
day.
election day? How do you guys feel about question 2, guys? Allowing sport betting in Maryland.
Yeah, I'm sure most of our fans are here in Maryland. I would also say that most of our fans are already sports betting in Maryland because they're watching this show. So why not take this illegal money and make it legal? let me start making some money and tax me on my big wins. Go for it, guys.
Yeah.
I don't see any problem with it.
I'm doing it now through illegal sports betting. It is what it is. I'm going to continue to do it if they don't vote yes for this. This is a no-brainer. This is way overdue. Not only should this be happening in Maryland, this should be happening in any state that's out there. I mean, this is something that the state can make money on. I don't understand.
If you ask me, should they be allowing something in Maryland? My answer is probably yes.
All right. What do you got, James?
All right. The Orioles announced the promotion of Chris Holt to the Major League pitching coach position. Smart move to keep it in-house.
Well, this is me first again, too.
Yeah.
Yes, it's going to be really short and simple because we all talked that when they made this move, it was about money. It was about saving money. You already have this man's contract on the books. You're probably not giving him much of a bump, if any. So you're going to get some free work out of it. Go for it, O's fan.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, the Orioles aren't going to be going out and signing any big-name pitching coach to come in here, so I think it
Not time yet.
made the most sense. It still doesn't make sense to me why we're even in a position to be bringing in a new pitching coach because I think the job that was done this year was more than efficient. Again, the improvement that we saw in the bullpen specifically, right? The bullpen went from a 5-something ERA down to a 3-something ERA. We're starting to see some of the cream of the crop as far as actual pitching process that are going to be a part of this future start to creep up. Those pitchers are doing a good job. I didn't understand why we pulled the plug early on this. It made absolutely no sense to me.
Yeah, that's why it leads back to money for it, because he did do a great job. If you're cutting it, it's either a personal issue, which I feel like we would have heard about by now, or it's money. And it's always been money with this team.
And Elias has ties to Chris Holtz back from his days when he was in Houston. So I think this was a long time coming.
It could be some hush money too then.
Right. That's true too. That's very true. All right, Ryan, you're on the spot, man. Sign us out for tonight.
Oh, man. Well, so here we go. Remember, we do this every Tuesday night. Not me, but this guy does. 7:30 Tuesday. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. You got to hit me up on Terps BS Spurt. It's right down here. Fred BLBS over there. We got Drew, who doesn't do Twitter. Don't worry about that, but you can comment him right here in the show. And then, James, you're going to have to hit me up with your Twitter because I don't have this stuff in front of me.
James Bond, what is it?
2032.
2032.
So did you cry when Sean Connery got announced?
Yeah.
All right.
Sean Connery was a good actor.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, all right. James Bond right there. So hit him up and say some
James
condolences.
Bond, 007, one of the best video games ever.
Make sure to check us out with one Big Play, birdlandbs.com. There's some good swag out there. I'm really bad at this. Scott, you're really good at this. So we'll see you next week. Join us in the after hours. Have some fun.
See you guys. It's time for the after party.
I might get in trouble for this, but it's got to be said. My wife just comments. She's still taking credit for that combine video. I don't know if you want to take credit. Were you scouring the internet for like dick slips?
I'm pretty sure.
How do you find this?
She was repeating that back and forth. She watched it. She had to make sure that she saw a penis that fell out.
She got it back, Ryan.
Zoom
you are
in.
So cute.
Well, maybe after that comment, we'll give another one. Ryan, you're sleeping on the couch.
Scott, if you're still out there and you want to call in, I connected the Bluetooth so I can answer your call and put you through if you want to. James, any good comments out there that we didn't get to bring up?
It's basically like what we've been talking about. But real quick, did you guys see what Seattle did?
I did not.
They signed. They're bringing Alex Collins back in.
Oh, okay. So I saw that they were going to potentially bring him into the practice squad. Guy that had a couple of good years here with us, but then there we go.
We got Scott and his bad Talia takes back.
Hold
on, guys. Hold on.
Taste the crow.
Bring him in. Scott, you there?
Hello,
Scott. You there?
Somebody
hang on. It's not unmuted.
All right. Well, anyway, we'll talk about what his
last call for no.
Anybody
call.
want to predict what his bad takes can be on Talia this week?
He's just going to shit on you. You didn't talk. You didn't talk about it. I don't know if you guys saw it. That
hold on.
He wanted to give you shit for giving the return guy shit.
Jones.
Scott, you there?
Can you guys hear me?
Now I got you. There you are.
All right. We'll let you give me shit about this return game. Apparently, I missed this comment.
Yeah. Well, Fred knows how to use a computer now, so that works. But no, I was saying
You want to give me shit for giving Talia shit about 3 interceptions, yet you're gonna get rid of Isaiah Jacobs on the return game, who's had 2 fumbles, and you're gonna get rid of him when he averages 15 to 20 yards a return? Are you kidding me?
In this, where the teams are lining up now, anyone can get 15 to 20 yards return. He has had 2 lost fumbles, and he's had 2 to 3 bobbles that he's recovered or someone's recovered.
He's been nothing
bad. Nothing's been good.
Nothing has been good. He looks like a bag of nerves back there. If I saw like some explosion out of him, like the potential for a game-changing type of returner, then I could deal with the fumbles. Right now, he just looks like an average returner who can't handle onto the football.
And I saw a little bit of that when he was in the running back position against Northwest. I did not see that as a kick returner. He's spending too much time focusing on catching the ball and not enough time on what he's going to do afterwards.
All right, whatever.
All right, what
are
you doing with this Talia takes?
How many crows are on that beach?
Yeah.
What's that?
How many crows are on that beach?
Not a one.
Hold on, real quick, Scott. What's your take on the Penn State Maryland game?
It's going to be close. I'll take Penn State by. I'll take Penn State by 10.
Okay, so you're still saying that we cover the spread?
Yeah.
So we're all like 10 to 21. That's kind of where that range is for us, which is all significantly under the 25.5 point spread. You
got anything left in your MyBookie account?
I did not. I lost on my MyBookie, but MyBookie's trying to get me addicted again. So they gave me $20 in free play. So therefore, I have taken that $20 in free play and put it on $10 on Maryland money line and $10 on Kansas over Oklahoma. Yeah. Both of which are ridiculous underdogs and pay very well on the money line.
Scott, I did want to get your take on the NASCAR thing. I know you're a big NASCAR fan, and I'm sure you had your opinions on that situation.
So it's there is the rule in there. It's called the competitive rule.
Right.
It's to make sure that racers aren't obviously going through and trying to purposely pull back or create wrecks, things like that. So I get it. This is the guy that's on the bubble. It's his teammate. This shit happens. Oh, Fred, you said it. This shit happens all year.
Yep, all the time.
All fucking year.
Yep.
So that's the thing. That's the thing about this is you can sit here and whine about it and say, "Oh, well, it creates an unfair advantage for other teams." Bullshit. It happens all year. Some of the biggest road races, or some of the biggest races it happens on, are the road races.
Right.
Where you get guys that are running way cleaner than some of the other guys, and so it creates these bigger issues. For me, it's a non-issue. I think Denny Hamlin should have been in from the get-go. I think there was one race earlier in the year that he actually got black flagged for, where he wound up having to go to the back of the circuit and run a little bit later. So I really don't. I think it's bullshit either way. I like Denny Hamlin as a driver. I think he should have been in it from the get-go.
Yeah, and like I said earlier, I just really think this comes down to them just being blatantly open about it instead of just talking in code. If they'd have covered themselves up and talked in code, this would have never been brought to the forefront. We'd never be even talking about it.
Well, why? I mean, that's my issue is why the hell do we have to talk about this in code? I mean,
I know. I agree with you. I agree with you.
It's racing.
You're calling them teams.
Racing is all about strategy, specifically since they put in restrictor plate racing. Once they put in restrictor plate racing and put everybody on basically the same playing field, it legit came about strategy at that point. It's not who's just got the faster car. It's who's the better driver, who teams up with his teammates the best, who's got the most friends on the course. It all comes down to strategy.
Yeah,
exactly. One thing I did want to bring up before I hop off here is you guys were talking about Lamar and you're talking about some of the issues and this poor loss, obviously, to the Steelers, which we all hate. I hate especially because I have a boss that's a Steelers fan and he's giving me shit even all the time I'm on vacation. But for me, one of the biggest things I saw out of this game, I was literally, Fred, I texted you, I was watching this game on my iPad in my car to pick up my grandmother 2 hours away. We were literally driving and I'm watching on my iPad. One of the biggest things that I saw was, you talked about it, Fred, Lamar's mechanics just seem off.
Yeah.
They are way off on every throw. And that's, to me, that's some of the results of the interceptions. You talked about him dropping sidearm. At times, he was throwing every other throw sidearm.
Yeah. And
But it wasn't accurate. It was either high or it was low.
He's even last year when he won the MVP, right? Like he did have some sidearm throws. He dropped his ball. Like that kind of is what made Lamar and Patrick Mahomes are similar in that sense. They kind of ad-lib to make plays and do things that other quarterbacks don't do. But what I think, to your point, I think what he's doing this year is reactionary to not feeling comfortable in the pocket like he did last year. He doesn't have his future Hall of Famer in Marshall Yonda out there. He can't step up into the pocket with confidence like he had last year. So there's like an uneasiness to me. There's an uneasiness about Lamar that he just doesn't look comfortable. And when he's not comfortable, it's affecting his mechanics.
Well, he's comfortable while he's running, so let's have him do that.
Hey, real quick, Scott.
Agreed, but in order to get him to run, you got to have an offensive line that can protect him. If he doesn't feel comfortable, that's why he's dropping sidearm. He had a few batted passes, which he hasn't had in the past. I was literally sitting at a bar today and watching the countdown clock for the last 30 minutes of the trade deadline today. And waiting. And Fred, I know we've talked about this in the past few weeks. I was waiting for some type of move to be made. Yes, we want to get weapons around him. With Ronnie Stanley going down, your biggest need, your absolute undoubted biggest need becomes the offensive line.
Yeah. Yeah, we had talked about that earlier too. There was the problem with it is there's not a ton of offensive linemen out there to be had that fit within the cap restraints that we have. There was a guy in with the Giants, Zach, what's his name, Zeitler, that's up there with the Giants that he was rumored. I would have liked to have had him and plugged him in at right guard. I think that would have been an upgrade. But still, tackles, any tackle that's worth a damn is going to come at a hefty price tag. And the Ravens just don't have the room for it, unfortunately.
Oh yeah, they're a dime. Tackles are a dime a dozen, right? I mean, especially with guys like Orlando Brown Jr. and like Ronnie Stanley. Those types of players are a dime a dozen, right? The name that I brought up a few weeks ago,
he's using dime a dozen wrong
way.
Do what?
You're using dime a dozen the wrong way. Dime a dozen would mean that they're everywhere. Yeah, they're super valuable. They're not a dime a dozen, but I got you.
Ravens are screwed.
You know what I mean.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
I've had a few drinks. I have a few more drinks to win.
Yeah, we remember where you said you were sitting at a bar.
That's right.
Yeah. But anyway, these guys they're hard to come by, right? And that's ultimately the biggest thing. I threw out the guy Andrew Whitworth. I can't even speak when I'm not even on the show. Andrew Whitworth out there with the Rams. This is a guy that is coming to the end of his career, probably looking for some type of ring or possibility at a ring. And a team like us is probably a good shot for him. Yeah, would we have to give up a lot for him? Probably. But at the same time, you've got to do something to protect Lamar, because I'll tell you what, going forward, I said the Ravens are going to win this game against the Colts, but at the same time, I do have worries on that line, especially because we have zero depth, in my opinion.
I think they were willing to mortgage the future for this year last week. And I think after all these injuries, whether they're going to say it out loud or not, they're willing to mortgage the future for next year's team. And try to kick this a year down the line.
The problem is, right, that the cap is unpredictable for next year. So if they go out and they get somebody that fits into the cap, how much draft capital are you giving up to be able to do that? And next year, if the cap number comes down and you got to work guys in and you don't have draft capital to be able to draft playable guys that can come in and make an effect and stay underneath the cap because you've given up all your draft picks, well, that leaves you vulnerable for next year. So I get your point. And I will say this. The job that Orlando Brown did shifting from the right tackle to the left tackle again against somebody like Bud Dupree and TJ Watt, I thought he did a damn good job.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I thought he did a damn good job. There were a couple of plays that I saw on tape where he pulled. And when he pulled, he got out in front of Lamar and led the way and did damn good. Like, listen, I'm not saying he's better than Ronnie Stanley or anything by any means, but I think to ask this guy mid-game to switch his mechanics up and go from the right side to the left side and play against the best defensive front in football, he did damn good, and he's only going to get better.
He did the same thing before the Redskins game, right? We had to switch like a couple days before.
Right.
I would say, but correct me if I'm wrong.
You
he
are.
played left tackle in
Yeah.
college.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he did. He
Yeah.
played left tackle in college. Yep.
Hey,
So it's a natural position for him. So to me, yes, he played a damn good job, but he played as good as I was expecting to play because he played at a high level at that position.
Yeah.
So one thing I did want to ask you guys before I hop off of here is I'm interested to get all of your takes on the news that kind of was bounced around. Baltimore Sun, supposedly broke it this week that the Orioles, that there are potential bidders that have come out publicly saying that they are ready to purchase the Orioles if the Angelos family is willing to sell. And then Michael Elias, literally a day later, 24 hours later, comes out and says he wants to bring winning baseball back to Baltimore. What's your take on this?
Yeah, I actually got an email today from the Orioles, and it was a letter addressed from Mike Elias talking about the Orioles are basically here to stay, and all the rumors out there that the Orioles potentially could be moving and all that stuff. He brought up the Angelos quote of saying something about not leaving until Fort McHenry isn't here, or some shit like that, or whatever. So it is kind of weird timing for all that to happen. I'd love to be honest with you. I have more faith in the Angelos Sons than I ever did their father, but I'd love to see a new ownership group come in here and buy this team and keep it here. Whether that's some weird combination of Kevin Plank and Cal Ripken and this, a big conglomerate like that of big names would be freaking awesome. But
did you just really include Kevin Plank's name in this?
I would, man. Just some Baltimore guys, some
Maryland
guys
ties.
that Maryland ties.
He did a good job selling those stocks before they crashed. He's
right.
doing okay.
He got out of Shawshank when he knew to get out, right? He still got a ton of money left. I don't know. I like I said, at this point, I'd like for a new ownership group to come in. I'd be open to it.
I would certainly be open to it. I would hope that it could come with some kind of clause of keeping the team here, but that's going to devalue your sales. So that'll probably never happen. I don't think anyone's going to take the team anywhere right now, especially with we don't know if anywhere is going to have any fans. In the
they
stands,
still have to renew the lease on Camden Yards. Still,
this is coming up. It's the next year,
Right.
last year. But Scott, real quick, Justin said, "Is everything okay with you?" Yeah, Justin. Scott's on vacation. He's in Flow Rider. He'll be back. And second off, I want to get your take on you taking the 49ers over the Packers. Like, did you watch the 49ers game at all?
So I did, but the 49ers, while they haven't been playing well, and I know they've had injuries, they need to come back and look. The Packers have been playing like shit the past two games, as far as I'm concerned. They have not looked like what they've been trying to do over the past 5-6 weeks of the season. They have not looked consistency, right? The model of consistency they want to develop, they haven't looked at.
They don't have anybody except Aaron Rodgers and Adams.
But that's my point. When
But
you
they're
go
still
up
winning,
against, well, they're barely winning.
Because
they're winning
you
by 3 and 5. They're winning by 3 and 5.
We barely
and 6
lost. It
points.
still feels like a loss.
well, the 49ers just got gutted by losing Garoppolo and George Kittle as well.
There's
so
absolutely no way the Niners win this game when they have no running back, and that's the only thing you can do on Green Bay.
right, you have no running backs.
Not
You
a
lost your
chance
starting
now.
quarterback. You lost your Pro Bowl tight end. You've lost all your good defenders that were ever worth a damn, and you just traded away probably one of your best linebackers in Quan Alexander. Like that team is a
So I'm
shell of
gonna-
what they were.
I'm going to tell you this: as the owner of Hasty in our fantasy league, I'm going to
Oh
tell
Jesus!
I'm going to tell you right
Here
now.
we go.
Fred, who's in first place?
He's been in first
You
place
know-
for less than 24 hours.
He
Here
just
goes.
set himself up for that.
I wish I was in this league. Ah.
As the owner of Hasty, watch out for him this weekend. I'm telling you right now.
Also-
I think Green Bay was going to watch out because that's all they
He's
have.
going to
Also-
hastily put his ass back on that bus home.
Justin Marshall, I'm done covering for Scott. So the little known fact is Scott's a doomsday prepper. He got invited to Tim Tebow's bomb shelter for the election day coverage. There's a little worried what's going to happen. I decided I would come here and man up and just see if the world burns. So that's where he really is.
All right, Scott, man, appreciate you calling in. Have fun, be safe down there in Florida. Make sure you're wearing your mask. Don't get too close to weirdos and strangers down there.
Make sure check the date on those ramen noodles in the bomb shelter.
That's right.
Let me tell you something, guys. Something real quick. There are a ton. We all know it's mandated in Maryland, right?
Yeah.
There are a ton of people down here. It throws me the fuck off.
With no mask.
There are a ton of people that don't have masks.
Not
surprised. I'm like, wait, you should have. Oh,
you can't die in Florida. That's why all the old people move there. It's impossible.
Right.
You can't die there.
All right, I'll catch you guys later.
All right, Scott. See you. Man. All right, you got anything left that you want to say before we head out of here, Drew?
Hey, I will say, anybody that's holding on, we recorded a whole episode of Shell and Tell. If you enjoy the Shell and Tell section here at all, hit up the 1 hour version of Shell and Tell that will be posted very shortly after this. So it's me on YouTube. And then all the podcast forms.
Hey, a small aside, my cousin Nick listens to your podcast.
Good.
He enjoys it. So I try to get him into this one. He said, hey, if it's entertaining like the Shell and Tell,
good.
He's good.
We need Maryland fans. We're growing them young. I like a lot of things going on around the program, especially even away from the football field, getting exposure to try to get this fan base back to where it was. The only reason I'm a Maryland fan is because I started 11 years old. I didn't go to school, so if you get these kids in here young, we can build this program where it's supposed to be.
That's right. Go Terps. We'll see you guys next week, 7:30, as always.